All right, wonderful seminary teachers, welcome to this video on how to use this PowerPoint resource that we've given you to be effective in the classroom. Just want to share a few tips with you that will really help PowerPoint be an effective tool in the classroom and not really the methodology of our classroom, which can easily happen if we're not careful. So it's important to remember, first and foremost, PowerPoint is a teaching tool. And when we use it wisely, it can greatly enhance our students' experiences, especially their experience in being converted to Jesus Christ and being in the scriptures as they do so. But like any tool, if it's used too much and in the wrong ways, it can actually be a detriment to what we're trying to accomplish. And so, like salt, I think this is the best example. PowerPoint slides can be used with great effectiveness to flavor a lesson. However, also like salt, PowerPoint slides are most effective when used sparingly and for a specific purpose. No one really likes it when you get way too much salt on something. Now, so for some good, safe rules of thumb when you think of using PowerPoint in your seminary classroom is, honestly, in a given 45-minute class setting, 4 to 6 slides is probably plenty. If you're having a good classroom where you're discussing things and you're getting into the scriptures and studying and drawing things out of the scriptures, 4 to 6 slides is probably all you need to enhance and salt that lesson in a visual way. Now, a good rule of thumb as you think about specific purposes to use PowerPoint, usually we want to use them for visual purposes, such as showing a map or a chart, pictures that are going to enhance our discussion or understanding of scriptures, also videos, obviously, and quotes that we want students to engage in. It's a lot better to show a quote and have it so people can see it and reread it just like they do the scriptures, as opposed to just reading it out loud, kind of one and done idea. So that's usually some great things to put on a PowerPoint slide within a lesson. Also, the second greatest reason to use PowerPoint is for student memory. Sometimes there's things in class or activities that we're going to do or things that we ask them to do that it would be helpful to have a visual to remind students of what they need to be answering or accomplishing in that time. So example of discussion questions that you want them to ask a question and think about it and write in their journal or be ready to share in class. A lot of times it's helpful to maybe put that question on the board so that they would be successful with that. Or group work directions. Really anything that you would put on a board to like direct your class or do your class, that's probably similar to what you're going to put in a PowerPoint slide that you could use. And so also you could use PowerPoint in a Zoom class, or if you project onto a whiteboard. If you want to dig into a quote or scriptures more, you project that, and then you have students mark or annotate on the board or over Zoom what stands out to them in that verse and what they're seeing, and all of a sudden you have this interactive slide that becomes a great discussion point and focal point to the scriptures and quotes of the prophets. So those are a few good tips. I want to give you one example of the resources that we've given to you here that come from I want to give you a quick example of one PowerPoint resource here that we've given you that come straight from the seminary curriculum, and how you might go about using that PowerPoint, what slides might be useful and what slides might not to, as you really think, what am I going to show and present to my classroom, and what might you think about changing as well. So this example comes from Jacob chapter 1. Again, there's kind of an introductory slide if you wanted students to come in and kind of see a picture that kind of, brings them into what are we going to be talking today and focusing on. Might be a good use of this slide. This next slide, though, lesson purpose, that's really just for you as a teacher. We just provided this so that you can see where in the lesson these slides kind of fall into the curriculum and some helps. And so this really wouldn't be a slide that you would share with your students, right? You delete it or hide it. And then as you go on in this lesson, there's this discussion that you're going to have about talking to a friend. And as I look at these questions, they're great questions. You might want to change them a little bit if you feel like the wordology might be better in a different way. But as I look at these questions, I see the first one being the beginning question, right? That I really want my students to take time and think about. So what I might actually do is actually copy or cut those two other questions and put them down here in the notes, because those two other questions, to be honest, would be probably shared much better as follow-up questions as we're having this discussion and students are talking about this. I could ask at the right moment in the right time, hey, what might help us overcome our fears of these things that you guys are sharing about? And that might help better with the discussion instead of just like throwing it all up there on the slide at once. That could be a little too much. And so again, it's good to be wise about what questions do I really show and what ones are more for my follow-up and as the discussion happens. Obviously, great resource to show videos. PowerPoint is always good for that. Now, if we look at this slide right here, it's showing us a few places that we're going to ask our students to read. Now, these are just ideas. We got to think, how am I going to do this? What's the methodology that I want to use and the tool that I want to use to get my students into this? Is it best to show it up here on the screen, or do we do it in the class? Sharing a screen like this is way too busy and way too much for students. And so you got to ask yourself, how are we going to go into this? What do I want to show? Or do I even want to use anything on this slide? But I would definitely pare that down and focus it a little bit more if you're going to use that type of slide. This type of slide right here is actually a great visual slide for helping the memory of students. If you're going to do this activity, write down situations in which you might have had opportunities to do this. This is a great thing that students can keep looking up at and stay on task and know what they're doing. So great use of this type of slide. As we go throughout, again, we get another slide that's pretty busy. And to be honest, probably too much if we really want to have a good class and a good discussion. This is a little too much. And so again, what's the purpose of what you're going to have on the slide? Do you just want to have some questions there? And again, do you want to have all the questions, or is it just one question that starts the discussion as you're reading these verses together? And then what are your follow-up questions to help build the discussion and help with it? So again, it's probably a slide that you want to sit back and think, do I really want to show this? If I do show this, what do I want to keep on it, or what do I want to change? So that's really effective as a tool and not just this rote idea coming off of the curriculum. And then we get to commentary and background. Again, obviously you're not going to share this. This is just helping you as a teacher know where this lies in the curriculum. And then it has some great quotes and some ideas down here. Slides are great for putting quotes up so that everybody can really digest and feel and have the Spirit teach them and touch them as they're understanding, just like we do with scriptures, what's being said in that quote. And so these are slides that you might have ready in case you share those quotes at any given time. But again, the direction of your lesson might not take you to share every single one of them, and so you could have it ready and not actually show that slide. So I hope, as we just review, I hope we just remind ourselves that PowerPoint is a great tool, not necessarily a method. So if we find ourselves getting caught in, I just, to teach my lesson, I have to click through PowerPoint and that's how I teach my lesson, you might take a moment and just ponder and think, am I using it effectively and in the best way, or is it becoming a methodology that's overtaking some things that we're really trying to accomplish in the classroom and have a great culture and feel in a classroom setting. I hope this helps as you think about using this great resource that has been given to you to save you some time in creating visuals for your seminary classroom.